Well, it's a staple of police work, right? The car chase, the pursuit. A bad guy running away, cops have to get him, right? And sometimes that involves, well, chasing a guy in a car or even on foot. You see it all the time in the news and even in cop shows and in movies. But it almost seems as though it's essentially been outlawed in Washington state. There's a new law on the books. It's called Vehicle Pursuit Policy, HB 1054. And I think the most bizarre part is you got to get a supervisor's authorization before you chase the bad guy. Let's bring in Sheriff Brian Burnett. He's from Chelan County. That's right in the middle of Washington state. Sheriff Burnett, welcome to you, sir. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on today.
You bet. And just how much has this new law impeded your work?
A lot, and we're not a big agency. The average law enforcement size agency in the state of Washington is only 14 commissioned law enforcement officers, but you have hundreds of agencies here, 39 counties, and with us being one, with about 2,900 square miles to cover here in Chelan County. But it's a big deal across the state of Washington, a big deal.
All right, so let's go through the new policies and procedures, maybe some. Before we go to that, what was the policy beforehand? I mean, there must have been some times where you could not pursue. When would an officer not choose to pursue somebody?
Well, absolutely. Most of that was agency driven based on their policy. A lot of agencies and inner cities had much more stricter policies than other agencies. But, everything's always been about risk analysis. If you're training properly for your law enforcement agency on down the line, you're giving them the tools, the information. There's a lot of different things that you take into account for: the time of day, location, direction of travel, weather, lighting, speeds. Are you coming through school zones at 3:30 in the afternoon? Probably not a good time. And then you're also looking at the cause and the effect. What is it the person that you're chasing for is wanted for? Do you know who that person is? Can you identify them later? Obviously, is it a risk, a public safety risk, if that person is to get away? And so all of these things that law enforcement officers have to do in just a matter of seconds is they relay that information to dispatch and proceed on to do their job.
All right, let's go through all of the things that are in the law. By the way, it seems like just driving away, like, for instance, if you try to pull, in a moment, we'll get to that in a moment, but if somebody just pulls away, you're trying to pull them over, say, for speeding or a traffic infraction, and they decide to go 100 miles per hour, you can't chase them?
Absolutely not under those circumstances. The only thing that we're going to be able to use, what changed was a lot of the things is you could no longer use reasonable suspicion to chase that vehicle or that wanted person or unknown wanted person, and you had to have probable cause. And to establish probable cause, you actually have to know who that is. And not only do probable cause, now you have to have only certain laws, only certain crimes are going to qualify that. And then you go right down the checkoff list to make sure that works. And there's some pretty serious, dangerous crimes that I think the people would be pretty shocked to know that people can drive away, and law enforcement's got to not just stop pursuing, they actually got to pull over to the side of the road, turn their emergency lights and sirens off, and most likely I'm going to turn and go the other direction.
All right, number one, probable cause to believe certain kinds of violent crimes or sex crimes were committed. Probable cause. All right, this doesn't seem that unreasonable. Can you live with this part of the law?
Absolutely, we can.
All right.
Under more circumstances, but there are some couple cases though that if we were to describe to you, you'd be blown away.
No, the devil's in the details. The devil's in the details.
This does not make our community safer whatsoever.
Let me go to full screen, and I'm on your side here because, again, the supervisor has to authorize the pursuit. That seems totally untenable. And this, reasonable suspicion a driver is impaired. Now, all right, so probable cause that a violent crime was committed, and you have to assume you have to have reasonable suspicion that the driver's impaired as well, or instead of, or in addition?
No, that's one or the other, not together.
All right, very good. Pursuit is necessary for the purpose of identifying or apprehending the person. Again, this is one of those I guess we can live with, correct?
Yes, under certain circumstances, but I mean, we could throw out some ones where you think you know who that person is, or they're in a stolen vehicle, and they just got reported that they just did a certain crime, and you have victims, but you can't ID the person at that time, so it may not qualify under this law.
Driver is considered to be, number 4, an imminent threat such that the risks of not pursuing him outweigh the risks of pursuit. What's your reaction to that part?
Well, we've always trained our staff that way across the nation, I would hope, but certainly in Washington State and most definitely in Chelan County, we're always like, that's that part of that risk analysis. You're going right down. Does the risk to the public safety, the safety of the public, if that person continues to get away, outweigh the risk of taking them into custody? So yes, you've got to take all those things in consideration. Remember, these things happen in a split second.
Absolutely. And this is the part that really seems undoable, not doable. A supervisor has authorized pursuit. You got to check with your boss. Now, you're a cop, you're a sheriff. Is this practical? Can you do it this way?
Under most circumstances, yes, but there are some times, especially smaller agencies, they may not have the ability to have a supervisor out at all times, or for whatever reason, there's just a little bit of a lap over gap in the late hours, early hours of the morning when shifts are overlapping, and they don't have a supervisor. So that's one of the things that some smaller agencies are looking at. Can we be in compliance with the law when we don't have a supervisor out? Because certainly we're not going to have to call somebody and wake them up. That's not going to work at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Final thing, if you guys say deviate from these guidelines, this law, you're potentially in trouble. Do you know what the penalty is for violating HB 1054?
Well, a lot of the stuff that Washington State has passed, this is just one of the laws. It could move if you find somebody in violation of certain things, and they're held against this. They could go towards decriminal or decertification. So they lose their commission officer certification, which is their livelihood.
All right. Well, your job just got tougher, and I'm sorry about that. But let's stay in touch, and we're on your side, Sheriff Burnett. All the best to the folks in Chelan County. Okay.
Thank you for having us on. We appreciate it.
You bet.